What was the turning point that made you decide language and connection mattered just as much as a cut itself?
Because it's not what you say, the biggest thing is what you hear. Not just hairdressing that has communication gap, it's the world.
When you're trying to find that leader for a new salon, what matters most? Do they have to be technically proficient?
Openness to connect with people.
Most owners, when they start their business, they first focus on the decor, the discounts, the new services, and you focus on communication and mindset. This is more powerful lever for growth.
So you need to grow your team to execute great skills and have great retention through their communication, through their abilities.
Folks, welcome to our podcast, From Passion to Profit. And today we have Reginald Laws, who is our guest on this show. 20 years ago, we tried attempting working together and creating some online experiences for beauty industry and creating a hair color online business. That took all kinds of directions. I think my excuse to that is we were probably a little ahead of our time trying to get that going. But all said and done, we didn't get to that. But here, 20 years later, we are working together on another interesting project called the Rockstar Success System that we are trying to launch in India. And I definitely wanted to get Reg and his insights into how his journey began with PR Partners, his salon chain, and PR Academy, his institute, and the journey of how Rockstar became what it is today. Welcome, Reg.
Welcome to you too.
Yeah, welcome, Reg.
Vic. Good chat again. I just want to congratulate you both for globalizing this podcast. I feel that this kickoff with having an Australian and an English person in America starts in a good vein. And so if you continue in that way, you're just going to have a great success, because I've worked all over the world and hairdressing's the same. The challenges is very similar. We all have time lags, and sometimes this country's ahead and sometimes another country's ahead. And it's all about sharing our knowledge. And when you share knowledge, you all grow.
You know, we're excited about what we're developing with the podcast and getting voices from around the world to kind of talk to other voices around the world. I think our similarities as a community are much stronger than what the differences are, and share them amongst the global community. We're going to dive straight into the business end of Reginald Laws and PR business and Rockstar. So you didn't start out building a communication first training program. That's very, very kind of unheard of, I think, even today for our salon community. So the technical components was always there from the beginning. What was the turning point that made you decide language and connection mattered just as much as a cut itself?
Well, I always start out most of my conversations with people I've not met before with, I've had a lucky life. However, luck comes into it, as a Roman centurion once said. It's being prepared and an opportunity comes along. And that's what I've tried to do all my life, is be prepared, opportunity comes, and I'm ready for it. Hence, Roopa and I have been practicing for the last 20 years. As I say, in life, no failures. It's a stepping stone to success. That's what a failure is. And it's a case of then taking it, seeing what you did right, and seeing where you could have done better, and then changing it. So that change happened when, the big change happened when I was living in Bath. We started the company there. I moved to Oxford, and I then was able to avail myself of the lectures, and I learned about the development of people and the development of yourself and how you could enhance that. And the biggest thing I was hearing on all levels, and I was working with the government on a thing they call the youth training scheme, which was taking a skill from one industry and profession and moving it to another. And then I started to realize it's not just hairdressing that has a communication gap, it's the world. And at the time, people were not, and I don't feel they still are, educating people in high school, or even earlier, I'd start really early, into how to communicate with people and learning the skills on how that is done. Because it's not what you say, the biggest thing is what you hear. And that is the point that most people miss. Yeah. So they listen, but they don't hear. So they hear they're listening to what somebody's saying, but they're not hearing it. And I would say that is the start point. In Oxford, that they pointed this out, that most people were proficient at all of this. However, they just didn't hear what people were saying.
Yeah.
So the communication wasn't at a great level.
Well, even today, right? So like even today, like I know, because even when I've run sales teams and that before, there's that old acronym about you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so use them in proportion.
Yeah.
And I think it's still even today, like you realize that people are not listening; they're waiting for the gap so they can start talking. Generally,
Exactly. Or texting. I don't believe it's changed. I believe it's the same. Yeah. That's why people are working at such high rates when they're texting to each other. It's they want to fill the gap they see with their knowledge, because they want to share their knowledge, which is great. However, sometimes that knowledge is not what the person's looking for. Yeah. They're looking for something totally different.
Yeah.
You need to listen to understand, not to reply immediately. There's that as well. And one of the things that, here's how Rockstar, and I got associated with Rockstar. And this is during COVID and 2020, when the whole world, the salon world, is crushing down. Most businesses are shutting down or having severe losses. I was at the grocery stores shopping, and then PR Partners was next door, and I thought I'll just go get a haircut. I didn't think I should book an appointment because I didn't think anyone was that busy. But when I did go into PR Partners, the lady at the reception said they were booked out 3 weeks in advance. I actually didn't believe her in the beginning, and she actually had to move the screen and show me that we are booked out 3 weeks in advance. And that caught my attention, and I'm like calling my old friend Reg and saying, hey, let's catch up. I'd like to understand what you're doing differently to be able to navigate this circumstance, which is an unbelievable circumstances for anyone to have even imagined what was how the world came down. But more importantly, to how did you navigate through COVID, and how were you able to keep your books up the way you were? So that's how we started talking about Rockstar. And here we are 5 years later, 6 years later, actually, it's 2026 now. And here we are, and the program is developed to something what it is today at a great extent. And Reg, if you can give a little bit of insight into how this came about, that'd be great.
It was something that was going on before. It's structure. And one thing I've always, since my army days, I started out in the army, and then I left that and got into hairdressing. And if you have a structure and a preparedness, you're able to deal with everything that comes along. So what we created was a system of how to connect with the clients. It's the communication again and connecting with the clients. And that's how we were able to get over it, because we are always rebooking. Rebooking, for me, we have a program which is the 5 R's. And to do it, the number one thing is to rebook the client. And that happens in a different manner to what most people try to do. Most people wait till they go to the checkout, and then they try to make a rebooking. They also try to give the client, or not give, but sell the client retail and do lots of other things. Where what we realized was, if you do it in the consultation, then it becomes a different experience. And for us, going to the hair salon is not a haircut or a color, it's an experience. We all remember experiences. Haircuts we might forget, a hair color we might forget, but that experience, how that person connected to you, is totally different. So what we evolved was in the consultation. So first of all, if I look at a salon, the first thing, if I was moving to a country, I would do is plan the best experience for that country. It will be different. That's where those things are. So a 5-point plan, because if you have anything more than 5, people will forget it and it will not be consistent. So a 5-point plan would look something like this. The welcome, when the person enters the business, when they enter the salon. And that has to be the same every time. Not the first time, every time. It doesn't have to mean everything takes place the same time every time, but it does mean the welcome is the same, because that's a start point. I always say an experience is like telling a story. It's got a beginning and an end, and those are the 2 places you remember. So that welcome has got to be the same. From that welcome, you go to the salon. Into the salon, you're at a chair, usually at a station. We used to have just consultation stations so that we could separate it out, so that the guest felt there was a different experience. But that meant it wasn't good for business, because the square footage, when we went from a large salons to a smaller 3,000 square foot units, it didn't fit in. So now we do it at the station, the hairdresser station, and that's when you make that connection. That's when you bring into play the rockstar abilities. And it's those, which some people call soft skills, other people call them other things, but for me it's connecting. And it's connecting through communication. That's what you're doing. You're making that connection, and you've got 9 seconds to do it for them to like you. And so it's how you prepare yourself every time, and it becomes like you're on stage and you're doing a dress rehearsal every time, but it's not the dress rehearsal, it is the full theater, the full start of it. And so it's how you approach the client, it's how you smile, it's how you have open body language. It's a series of different skills that you need to have that becomes natural to yourself. Because like all things, practice makes perfect. So the more you practice it, the more you evaluate how you're doing it, the better you become at it.
Yeah.
Then from there, we go to what we call, I'll go through the 5, and then it's easy for me to do that. So then we go to what we call, most people call it the shampoo area. We call it the hair spa, because people love hair spas. I mean, there's, I don't know what's happened in India, but in other countries, it's starting that people are just opening hair spas.
Yeah, it's quite good here too. Yeah.
I have a friend in Chicago where Taco Belmont has their all singing and dancing units, and they are phenomenal. And they just, what we all know is trichology. They go through what is going on in their hair, scalp, and they come with a solution. So we call that the hair spa, and there's certain things that needs to take place there. The most important thing for me is the client has a challenge. I don't know everybody but me, because I don't have hair, has something in their hair that they would like to improve. So it's important to ask the question, what would your hair feel like to be a dream hair for you? And if you find out, because we're all about feel, we make decisions on feel, not on this, and this is right, this, and this is wrong. No, we make it on how we feel about something. So if you ask the client, what would your hair feel like to have your dream hair? They will tell you. Then it's up to you to say, this is the solution. What I recommend is you give them 2 solutions. One, the lower value one first. The second one, the more, call it expensive. And that way, you can then go into in depth in the benefits, not the features. You can run through a couple of features, but they're not interested. People are interested in benefits. That's all they're interested in. They're interested in, how is this going to change my hair? How is it going to make it more like my dream hair? Okay, you've made your decision. This is what we're going to do. Then, the next thing that's most important to them is the massage. Most people will start the massage and not ask a simple question. How would you like your massage today? Would you like it relaxing, or would you like it rejuvenating? That will make all the difference. Because when I did have hair, I used to hate it when people were really like vigorous, or whatever words you want to use, on my scalp. I'd be like, oh my God, I haven't got much hair and you're trying to rub it off. What the hell's going on? In reality, it was better for me, but I didn't appreciate it. So that would make the difference. Then we go from there back to the station, and then we call it art. That's how we do it, but you know, whatever you want to call it. And that art is when you express yourself with the client. You've listened to what they need, you've decided what you're going to do, and then you're going to go through what you're going to execute. This is the point of difference. This is when you say, okay, let's talk about a haircut. I'm going to graduate like this because it's going to give you more fullness here, which will soften your face shape. So the benefit. That being said, you're then going to go through after that. If it's a color, by the way, you're going to say how you're going to accentuate or de-emphasize the face shape or the haircut or how the hair is by how you place the foils, how you place the balayage, or how you do the color. Then you go from there and you're going to do whatever you're going to do. Then they come back, they're shampooed, they're clean, and you're ready to style their hair. It's important, it is critical that you then explain to the client what their needs are. Because if they have a haircut that requires, like Vic wears his with texture, then they need a product, a solution. And that solution, you show them what it is, and then you say, have you got this? And if they say no, then that's your window of opportunity to say, I'll put it at the front desk in a bag for you, ready to go. So you have carried that over from the consultation, you've reiterated what they need to get that look. Twice is always good. And then you come to the last bit. Again, critically important, because we always remember the end. And sometimes people tend to rush their people out. How do you feel when you're rushed out of a restaurant? Awful. And I try to make analogies when I'm talking to my team about how did they feel when they're in a restaurant. It's like I come to the same point to them, but it's about how much something is. If your server came up, your waiter came up and showed you the menu and put their hand over the prices and said, oh, no, this won't work for you because it's too expensive, you go crazy because you'd want to know what is on offer. You want to know everything, and then you want to make the decisions because you want to be in control. And then you go to the desk, and that's it, because you made the appointment. You know when you made that decision in the cut, in the color, in the consultation. You made your decision twice now, what products they need to take away with them. Everything's there. You make sure that they've had a great experience. Pick out one thing they've shared with you and reiterate it. Hey, I love talking to you about your children. People love to talk about their children. Or I love talking about your holiday. Anything that they've enjoyed, that will put their mind into a memorable, happy place. 5-point plan. It's that simple.
So imagine a client who's defensive, price sensitive, and afraid of change. What's your internal framework to be able to handle that conversation from a greeting to a recommendation perspective?
First thing you've got to do is connect. If you don't connect, then you're just talking to them. And by connecting with them, you're in a conversation. And you need to be in a conversation. You do not be, for me, you don't tell anybody what they need. You share with them the knowledge that you have about what you feel they should have. They become price sensitive when they're not aware of what you're going to do and the time it takes and the products you have to use. So it is down to nearly 90% of the time, the client's only price sensitive because the hairdresser didn't explain it in a beneficial way. The benefits.
What is a belief about hairdressing careers that you think most people get completely wrong? And how does your work correct that?
I feel that hairdressers enter the profession to be creative. And I don't know whether they get it wrong or the owners get it wrong, but then they don't focus on the creativity. So the joy that they got from it and the happiness that comes from creating goes away. And then they're left with doing functional tasks. None of us like doing functional tasks. We don't like washing up. We don't like making the bed. We don't like doing any of those things. And when hairdressing becomes a functional task, then it doesn't have any joy. So creativity.
You speak a lot about confidence and happiness. How do you personally define confidence in a way that goes beyond feeling good about yourself?
Happiness and confidence are very closely linked. And it's how to build confidence that's a key part of it. And then if you have confidence, you have happiness. Because when we're confident, we're able to go into any situation. The word that's bandied about now is anxiety. I don't like it. I feel it's overused. I feel that a lot of it is just challenge, that you're coming up against a challenge. So then you get anxious. However, if you practice your skills, you practice your knowledge, you've got that ability to look and say, this is what I'm going to do for you today, and feel really confident. You know, when I first started out, I did say I was a colorist, then I was a cutter. I became on the road and people would ask me lots of questions about coloring because I was able to be very clear and concise. And I used to have this little figurine with me. And I used to say, because nobody wants to learn, you know, learning is not fun. So I used to say, if you want to stop praying to this little figurine, this God or whatever you want to call him, then my suggestion is, let's start to educate you on how you can give the solution to your client of anything that they ask for.
So how can you take one communication skills like active listening and help your stylist make it into a daily habit?
So no hairdresser likes to do, we'll call it, I don't know it's the same in India, but it is in England, a redo. Nobody wants anything to come back. Nobody wants that client at the end of it to say, I don't like this. So I start by saying to the stylist, designer, whatever you would like to call them, can I eliminate these two from your life? The person that's going to be not happy with what they've got done, and the person that complains. And so if you listen and you do active listening, you will know what their challenge is. That's what they want to be solved, is their challenge. If you solve the challenge in their mind and in their lives for their hair, then you're on a roll. You will not get any challenges yourself. There will be no comeback from clients.
You talk about taking ownership of your career path or career journey. At a practical level, what does ownership looks like in the choices that your stylists make in your salons on a day-to-day basis?
Well, in life, anybody, you need to take ownership of your life. Again, we go to a plan of where you want to be, because if you're achieving, then you're happy. And happiness to me is key to life. And so once I've sat down, or one of my team members have sat down, our leaders have sat down with their team member, they define, okay, this is where they want to be. They gave them a career journey on how to get there, and they're achieving as they go. And that's important, that you acknowledge when somebody does something well. It's a 2-to-1 ratio at best. So once you hold people, hey, I feel we could do this better, but in that time period, you need to praise them twice. Honest praise in the way of like insincerity, no authenticity, where you go and praise somebody, but they really didn't do anything special. It's not effective. You've got to find them doing something special. They know that, you know that, and everybody feels, wow, I feel great.
How do you help someone from seeing themselves as a salon employee to seeing themselves as a professional who has a unique identity and a brand within their own salon brand?
For me, it's like looking at L'Oreal, and they have Matrix, that Redken, have all these different lines, and they look at all of them as part of their team. And so it's important for the leader to look at everybody as a team member. It's important for the team member to look, okay, I am part of this umbrella, and I can deliver on my brand if I do this, this, and this with my clients. So you make a plan, what you want to deliver, and then you showing that you are delivering, you will feel as though you're growing and becoming successful. And once you're becoming successful, you just keep growing.
You emphasize on storytelling as a way to create trust. What, in your view, makes a storytelling therapeutic for a client rather than just it being entertaining?
Well, it's always easier for us to hear that if you're a hairdresser, if you tell a story about how you have dealt with somebody before, with the challenge that guest has, and you tell that story, how it took place, what happened, and how they were happy at the end of it, they will feel as though they're connected to you and going on the same journey, that you've been there before, you know what you're doing, and that will gather trust in you as an individual. So telling a story is always great.
Looking at the global industry now, with AI, social media, economic pressures, what strategic role do you believe advanced communication training must play in protecting professionals over the next decade?
I mean, I believe we will all move close to, we as a company, we now use consultation sheets before people come in so that we're clear of what their expectations are. That helps us in two ways, because if somebody's a new client, we will run it in a review, and then we will put them with a designer who's able to deliver on what skill they're looking for. As a designer, you're not being given somebody that you don't have the ability to deal with till you receive that training. So if you want to do that ability, then you will need to receive the training. So we will approach that designer and say, hey, this is why we did this. Because nobody wants to be stood there with a situation where they have not the ability and the knowledge how to deal with it.
When you look at the current salon industry, premiumization, tier 2 growth, social media, what exactly do you see Rockstar sitting in a value chain? Is it training, branding, or a complete business system?
I mean, for me, a business system is so complex. And if we do that, we'd be franchising, and that's not the route we've ever wanted to do. But I mean, I believe that there is licenses that we can produce in the future that, like the Four Seasons and the Ritz-Carlton, they're owned by loads of different people. The brand owns the name, but they don't own the hotel. So with us, the ability to educate is what we feel we're good at, great at, and we can deliver that. But I don't think we can deliver anything else more than that at the moment. Never say never.
If you had to explain Rockstar business impact to an investor, how would you describe the way it increases revenue or retention, pricing power for salons and for stylists?
If we start with pricing power, people will pay whatever they feel the experience is worth. It's down to us to educate, as Rockstar, to educate the hairdresser on how to communicate with the guests so they get an amazing experience, knowledge-based experience, not just a technical skills, because sometimes the client gets a great haircut, but they don't understand it. They don't understand how to look after it. They've not been explained to that they need certain products, certain techniques to make it look like the hairdresser did. So for us, it's all about getting value for money. And where an experience is concerned, I go to restaurants all the time and drop a X on one and Y on the other and judge it accordingly to how much I spend. And it's the same for hairdressing. People go away and they say, wow, look at this, I look great. They're not saying it cost me X amount of money. Some might, but not many. Okay, retention is critical for all of that. The scalability, if you don't have retention, you can't grow a company. You can't develop. I mean, you can open loads of stores, but you're going to be left with leases on your hand because you didn't fill them. The reality of it is, if you want to fill and maximize, I like the word maximize your potential profit, then in maximizing your potential profit, you need to, every chair is a value and cost. Most importantly, a cost. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. It has a cost. You've got to make that into a profitable venture, that one chair, and fill it. That's what it's about. So if you get retention, that chair's going to be full.
What risks do you see for salons and stylists who don't invest in an advanced communication and a client experience education over the next 5 or 10 years?
And, this brings me back to another question, which I don't think I've answered fully before from you. Everything in the future, if you do not have your designers, and maybe this doesn't happen in India, but here in America, you have got to be so active on social media. If they can't go in front of a camera and take experience with their guest and themselves, then they're not going to grow. You need to have that first impetus, because if you're just relying on people walking into the salon, that's a small stream. If you have every hairdresser growing their business, then you have got a lot of people walking in. So for us, educating people into communication means that they can go on social media, and I am not worried about what they're going to do on there, because we've trained them on how to do the videoing, how to do the communication, and what to deliver. So it's just a case of then them doing it. And that is something as well. You've got to make it something that you're observing that they're doing it. Because at first, some people will not produce enough reels.
Most owners, when they start their business, they first focus on the decor, the discounts, the new services, and you focus on communication and mindset. Why do you believe this is more powerful lever for growth?
Because it's your team. If your team doesn't grow, you can have the most fabulous looking salon, but there's nobody in it. So you need to grow your team to execute great skills and have great retention through their communication, through their abilities. And so if I don't focus on the team at first, I'm not going to grow that salon. All right. don't believe you can. I never say never, but I've not found a way yet.
From your experience, where does a typical salon leak the most profits? Pricing, client experience, team behavior, retail? How does Rockstar plug into those leaks?
Well, it plugs into all of them, but I mean, the number one thing is retention. If you don't retain the clients, hey, you're losing your profit. Profits is gained by the ability to fill a store with guests on a weekly basis. And if you can do that, people will say, oh my God, let's just take numbers in the air, 100,000 this week. Great, brilliant. But they hit 60 and the following week. Then the next week, they'll go to do 140,000. And if they're not aware of that, they tend to focus on the highs and they forget the lows. But the lows is what the common denominator is to the average, which is the most important thing, the average.
If a chain with 10 or 20 branches wants to adopt Rockstar, what operational disciplines, training cadence, measurements, and leadership behaviors are non-negotiable for you to work commercially?
I mean, we sitting down and finding that they have someone that can look after Rockstar brand would be critical, because without it, it's just a program. And a program that isn't instituted and educated on is not going anywhere. You've got to have that focus, and you've got to have that word that you used before, which I use a lot, mindset. If you don't have the mindset for growth of your team, it's not going to work that well. There's no magic bullets, there's no silver bullets, there's no gold bullets. There are programs, there is growth. So you bring in a program and you grow. You bring in a program, you don't educate on it, you don't grow. So bringing that program, it'll be there. It'll be something that you have, but it won't be something that's beneficial in a massive way. But if you embrace it and you get into it, then you grow in a very short period of time. You can get indicators, and every salon has its own indicators. Do you measure it on how many new clients, how much money? Any of those you can measure, as long as we know what you're measuring, and then we can help you with it. Everybody's got a computer program that measures all of that now. Nobody opens 20 salons without a great computer program tracking all those numbers.
It's beautiful, elaborate, and it's so detailed. The whole journey is so well thought through. One of the things that I've heard you say many times is that one of your mantras, I should say, is consultation is the real make or break moment for you. And I would want to understand or envision how this happens. What's the first few seconds of consultation in your salons? How does that go?
The first thing is you've got to connect. So you've introduced yourself, you've got yourself both at a similar level. So you use a stool to sit on, so you're both at eye level, and you start the conversation. And then the conversation would be, what challenges do you have with your hair? Because people, they are worried about something. And then you'd ask the next one. In the past, this is with a new guest. In the past, what have you found you didn't like about your hair? And then be remembering that we always want the good things to carry through with us. Then we say, okay, what's your dream hair? What would you love to have? And then that's implanted in their head where they're going. So that's how you'd start the conversation, with a dream.
How long does it typically take you to train your team to make sure that system is ingrained every time, so that consistency is there? Because that's easy to kind of slip off that when you're in a hurry or a client's in a hurry, then you could get put off. So
the guy called Frederick Fekkai, I'm sure across most of people have heard Frederick Fekkai. As I said, I've had a very fortunate life. I was able to do shows at the same time as Bruno Bettini, who Frederick learned from. And here's the thing that both had in common. They could do 15 minutes, the whole thing in 15 minutes. The consultation, the cut, everything. Done.
wow,
15 minutes. Okay. I know the Brits and the Indians would be like, oh my God, that cannot be. But Frederick used to say, Bruno, my French is un peu. And so they both would say, it's not you judging my haircut. You're not going to ever see my clients because they're going to keep coming back to me. So stop worrying about what the haircut is. Worry about what the client feels about it. Again, the feel word, it's worry about what the client feels about it. I'm a Brit, so I do everything very systematically. However, I feel that it's better to spend, as he would say, 10 minutes on the consultation, 5 minutes on the cut. I don't believe in those time frames, but 10 minutes in his 15-minute slot. If it was a new person, he'd spend 10 minutes on that consultation. If you can know where you're going, you're going to get there. If I say to you, let's go so-and-so, and neither of us know where the hell we're going, we're never going to get there. So that's a challenge, and that's a solution. Does it answer?
Oh, yeah, of course. So let me talk about your
Oh,
retention.
no, can I just go back to Vic, because I hate not answering questions when...
Oh, sorry.
It's just more how do you because obviously you get it. It's just more like, how do you drill that into your team? And then especially when you've got newbies coming in.
Yes, I understand. And you said, how long would it take to train?
Yeah, because your system's very different to, other places. So, so I've not had many, even my just personal experience, there's not many that do a good consultation.
I agree. There's a statistics that's kicked about that 2,000 hairdressers are interviewed in America, and then they got their clients 2,000. Okay, so all the hairdressers said they did consultation. Only 500 of the clients said they had a consultation. So it's doing a consultation and the guest of the client knowing they've had a consultation. It's turning it into, yet again, that word comes up, the experience. When you give them an experience, they know what they've had.
Yeah.
If you don't, if it's like, oh, how was your hair last time? Oh, it was great. Oh, do you want the same again? Bye-bye. If it's not your client, that's a nightmare. Even if it is your client, it's still a nightmare.
Yeah.
They're looking for the next hairdresser. They're on their way when you haven't even acknowledged that they're on their way.
Yeah.
But how long does it take me to train somebody? I can train somebody quicker than most people because of our system and the way we do it. I could have somebody trained to cut and execute a great consultation and a great haircut in 1 year. But I could do it to a lower level as to the great one. I could have somebody on the salon floor 6 months. I started out in a beauty school. I was too old to become an apprentice, really. So I learned from that system that if you really focus on the education, and so if it's an apprentice, it's going to take longer. But if it's a student.
Yeah.
Well, if it's someone who's been in the industry a little, there's a little bit of unlearning that needs to happen before the learning starts. So I always see that as a difficult process for them, the unlearning part. We all want to go into this default mode and do what we're doing and then try and add more to it, but that's not how real learning works. I want to dig into your retention, for say.
Of clients or of hairdressers?
Client retention, yes, sir.
Clients.
Your client retention numbers are the kind that salons around the world would kill for, right? It's around 80%. And the question is, what is the single most lever separating a salon struggling to hold their clientele versus one that almost keeps most of them?
Ironically, that most people feel it's the execution of the haircut or execution of the color. It's not. You have to have great skills. If you don't spend time educating your team, I don't like the word teaching. If you spend time educating your team on how to cut, how to color, you're ahead of the game. And you need to review it. Some people call it testing out or something like that. I just don't like the word testing out. Review their skills and have them on a career journey. If you've got them on a career journey and they're growing and you're connecting with them, then you're going to have someone who's really good at cutting, really good at coloring, and the communication must be done parallel. All three together, cut, color, and communication. You need to start it out from day one and make everybody aware what you're doing. Here's where we are, here's where we're going. When you get there, where the next step is. That's a journey. We used to call it a path, but paths tend to be straight, and careers don't tend to be simple.
Come to Mumbai and you'll realise you'll see the paths aren't that straight.
So I feel that then, given that the training the hairdresser is something that you've got to have reviews on a period, I recommend 3 months. And that gives you two things. Really good skills in cut, color, and communication. That's why we have really good retention. The communication is on how to communicate with the client. So it's not just, I can chat to you. It's, hey, I can deliver on what needs to be delivered on in a salon. And what needs to be delivered in the salon is rebooking. Rebooking and retention run hand in glove. If somebody, when I'm doing reviews of reviews, I don't do reviews, but if I'm doing reviews of reviews, so I look at one of my salons and I look, this is something wrong here. I guarantee when I start to drill down, their retention has slipped. Equal to that, their rebooking has slipped. And so we go back and we refocus on it. And so that's what happens. So it's retention and rebooking run hand in glove. It's almost impossible to achieve. It is impossible to achieve retention unless you have great rebooking.
Rich, most salon owners know and understand these basic things. Like we've got to make sure our rebooking is on point. We've got to make sure that we are going out and marketing to new customers. We've got to make sure that we sell products. These are things that salon owners have, they understand it. They work with their teams on a regular basis, and everyone has a measuring tool into how they're measuring the salon success, how they're measuring what's coming in, and how the stylists are performing. But there's something about you and the system that you've created that is working for not just one location, but multiple locations and in a consistent manner. What is that difference that you have created through your experience that you would want others to know?
Well, and thank you for wording it like you did, but I have hoped that you do know that all the words you used was wrong. And so you used the word selling. We never used it. I don't know any hairdresser that wants to sell anything. I'm an artist. I don't sell anything. Sorry. Do you want your client to look really great at all times? So whenever they go out, people will talk to them and say, oh my God, where did you get your hair done? Yes. Okay. Well, let's turn this into an experience. Let's show the client how to recreate it, how to do the blow drying. So I did go too quickly through the art part in behind the chair. It's incredibly important that you show the guest how to style their hair themselves. You may do a great job, but very few people can do it themselves. So it's important to ask, get their hands in it, get them to show, not having any hair myself, never have from 21. It was always like challenging. So when I did this, they're like, what are you doing? And so I'd always take their hands and in the first starting out, Denman brush, then round brushes when I got to America. I get their hands in it and show them how to do it. And so that's what's different. Make it into an experience. So it's not about the product. It's about the whole look at the end. And there was another word you used. Well, I forgot what it is now. Oh, shoot. So you said something about, having people have a great connection with their clients and getting them to rebook. So if you do not have that ability to communicate, you're embarrassed. And, confidence comes from embarrassment if you don't have it. And it comes from lack of clarity. So the clarity one is quite simple. Do words back to the client that's your own words. If they tell you something, don't repeat it back to you. People tell you to do that, don't do that. Because they really don't hear anything except their own words coming back. If you give it what they've said to you back in your words, they will know you've heard what they've said. And so suddenly they're like, he cares, she cares. So it's very important that you do that. And given that you've done that and you've turned everything more into an experience, the hairdressers most likely, and we're all do things to benefit ourselves. We are that. We're all the same. We like to help people. That's why I'll get to referrals in a minute. Don't let me forget that one. We like to benefit ourselves. And benefiting ourselves is we like to be talked about. We like to hear that we're great. We like to hear we're a rock star. I gave it the name Rockstar because people love to be a rock star. And for sure, there has to be a way to get there. And the way to get there is to offer an amazing experience to your guests where you share with them what they need to do for your experience. They've got to become part of your experience. And it's important that you explain to them, which I'll come to the referral now. So for me, most people, if you're lost, you're in the street, you ask somebody, they will help you out. That's called the emotional bank account. And so if you say to them, hey, remember, you've created a haircut or color they love. So they feel, oh my God, thank you so much. I feel great. They often use those words. Thank you so much. Okay. Oh, thank you. Oh, would you help me out, please? Magic words. I've never heard anybody say no. I'll say, yes. Oh, would you just do a simple thing? Would you just refer me to your friends? I guarantee that they will. My feelings are it's best to have some means of making that formalized. Back in the day, it used to be a card. Now you do it on your phone with a card. And that connection, you will be able to track how many new clients have come from your own endeavors, your own abilities. And that makes you feel good about yourself. When you start to grow, and we've had people, we don't want to talk money here, but we've had people grow to such an incredible amount. In their first year, they've achieved what somebody's achieved in 5 years in growing their clientele base.
That's one of the numbers that you really measure. Is it with your team? Like how many referrals they're generating?
Correct. The 5 R's. Yeah.
Just going back to, cut color communication, right? Because again, when I've spoken to hairdressers and you hear cut color and those foundational techniques is very common, but very few.
Yes.
I've never heard anyone really talk that much about the communication part of it and have it as one of the 3 components. How much, if you're going to say, right, percentage of, of the training program, X% is the cut, X% is the color, and then communication. How much focus priority does communication play in that overall kind of like the kind of skills that you're developing for your team?
And it's split up. Yeah. It's that much. Wow. Most of us know somebody that's become successful. And let's say hairdressing. And they become successful in hairdressing. It's not 100%, but I get it is 80%. Their communication skills are phenomenal. And it doesn't mean they talk a lot. Again, they listen a lot.
That's really,
that's where people talk about communication. They think, oh, no, it's about how you listen, how you hear, more importantly, and then how you deliver on those.
Yeah, that's great actually, because it could easily be that when you're saying, oh, communication skills, that we all default to like, oh, it's how well you speak and how much you speak. But it's great just to kind of reiterate, listening is just as important part of that, what communication is, being able to hear the other person and tell them exactly what you've heard, in your own words, like you said.
They say the greatest need of a human being is to be understood.
It's true. We all feel someone special when we feel heard. We just straight away respect them. Yeah. And you know what comes with respect? Trust. Trust is critical to hairdressing. When I say to you, Vic, what I'd like to do is transform your hair today because, and I give you the benefits, you're listening because you suddenly have changed. Our connection's really great. Yeah. And you have trust in me. So suddenly, hey, you can tell me anything. You have to deliver because that person's going to go out and their friends are going to tell them how they feel about that new look. But that's your benefit. Yeah. Suddenly they're all talking about their new haircut. Yeah. And if you give them the same haircut, I used to tell my team all the time that, particularly in England, mostly in England, they would be so like, oh my God, did you see that? What I just created? Oh my God, that is the best graduated bob you've ever seen. Or, oh my God, those round layers, those square layers, the forward graduation, whatever it was, they would tell me how great it was. And I said, yeah, it was great, but I've seen it before. You've done that on that client time and time again. Nobody's talking about it. When they go out, it's only if they meet somebody new. Most of us don't meet that many new people. We meet our friends and our work colleagues. When you have something fresh, they're like, wow, what did you get done? Yeah. And most people notice that, particularly now.
And a good consultation and understanding of what the person's looking for can get you there.
And you get the trust to get you there. Yeah. And so suddenly you're developing something which people say, hey, how do you re-energize your team? And I re-energize them by having them look at something fresh every year. That's the other thing. You didn't bring it up, but I thought I know lots of hairdressers ask me that question. We've had people with us for now, I've been here 37 years. And so that first salon I started in, I still have a little salon, 900 square feet. So I went to really large salons with spas and everything. And then I've gone back to 3,000 square feet. But the 9,000 square foot salon, 37 years ago, we did $1 million out of. That was unheard of in those days. It was myself and a guy in Chicago. And we were able to generate that because of our high ticket and our high retention. And we did that transformation with a team of Americans who were not trained all the way through with us. So we took people and we had to retrain them. But I started with saying, this is going to be the PR experience, which I was taking from England. It was not fresh. I had it there already. This was not learning something all over again. And so you asked me once, Vic, what would I do if I went to a town? I'd start by getting a leader for my team. If I was doing a franchise, say, I would get a leader for my team. That leader of my team may not be the best hairdresser, but they will be the best. And I say this again, communicator. And I don't mean that they are the best talkers. I mean they're the best listeners and talkers. So they can connect with the team and do the reviews.
When you're saying leader, yes, when you're saying leader, is that like the salon manager? Is that the top hairdresser? Is that the business partner running the salon? How are you defining leader in that kind of setup?
If, say, I have a financier that's running my company's brand, and for me, a brand is unique, it's consistent, and it's evolving. The critical one of that is being consistent. So if I open a branch somewhere else, I need it to be the same as all my other branches. Because when somebody goes from one salon to another salon in our town, Washington's reasonably big, and we have 14 stores spread across it. But they go in one store and they go to another, or they tell a friend, which is even more, what the experience is going to be. You have to match it every time. Because when they walk in, they're expecting something that their friend had. They've got what they're looking for. They're not going to tell you. It's up here. And if you don't deliver it, so I would get somebody, again, I go back to, if it was the financier, I would say to him, we need a leader. I don't like the word manage money, lead people. So if you have a leader who can inspire people, I love that word, inspire, and to aspire to something. So inspire to aspire to set themselves up. 2 words. That's all they need to know. And then you've got to come up with a review system on how you're going to connect. With us, we have, as lots of people did, a review system that people go through. And so we would do reviews, and then we would establish a connection with those people. Hairdressers already, what level are they at? We do a review and see, okay, you're this. Okay, for our brand, you would need to know this, and this. In point of fact, our own company here in Washington, we train everybody. We don't have any outside hairdressers come to us. If we do, more than likely, I could, out of the 450, I could count on this hand how many came from outside. It's just, training is key. It's just, we're not unique. There's loads of other companies do that.
Yes.
The difference is we train them in communication, they train in cut and cut.
Yeah. So when you're saying that, so is that all kind of like, are they kind of like a fresher student level that you train from scratch all the way through the PR system?
Yeah. Oh, everybody from scratch. So that we have apprentices and we have students. So we have an academy and we have apprentices as well. So the apprentice system, it takes a year for us to go through before they can be reviewed to pass there. In America, everybody has to have a license. Where we are, it's not everybody in America. Should clarify that. There are some areas now that don't, but mostly across America, you have to have a license. So
a license to your hair.
That year to do cut hair.
Practice,
Practice. Does it make it any better? No. We'll go down that rabbit hole. Let's stay with something.
Yeah, you don't want to go. Yeah, you don't want to go there.
It's not my forte.
Yeah.
Sure. So, Reg, why did you decide to go through hiring an apprentice versus hiring someone experienced in the industry, when most of the salons do have some sort of a training program for their new hires? Why do you choose one way or the other?
The retention.
Why do you choose to hire only your own apprentice?
Well, I didn't say, I would I did it first, as I said, took on other hairdressers. So if you have to, the devil's in the needs and or the detail, whichever way you want to call it. So that if I was starting afresh in a new country, a new city, I would have to hire people because I need to get the place going. I've got a place even if I've not signed for it, because more than likely I do a lot of training prior to opening it in a hotel. Because remember, ours is communication. So I can train people just sat on a chair like I am now, like you are there, and train them on what I need to get through the area of communication. So then we're left to then deliver on this for the start of the communication. Then we're left to doing the hairdressing, cut the color. So given that, I feel the retention is why I do it, why we do it. Because if you come in and you want to do something a certain way, it leaves for a lack of connectivity in the team. And we're all about teams. It's not, hey, these are my employees, they're my team. The whole team are individually broken down per salon team. So and if you can get that connectivity with the team, they feel they want to stay a lot more.
So they say your vibe attracts your tribe.
That's true. It's true.
When it's your salons, most of the locations that I've been to, the vibe is the same. It's energetic. Your employees are your team members are very energetic, very involved, and the vibe is very. It's nice to be a part of it. There's a certain belongingness that you feel when you walk into your salons. Tell me about how you went about creating that consistency in vibe.
Okay, so there's two things. There's the culture and the vibe. Two things we focus on. The culture is how you train. The culture is what your expectations are. That's controllable. You can say, I am going to do this. This is PR partners. This is how we're going in. So you have a salon. You want things done a certain way. You create a culture. That culture will attract people if there's certain value for the hairdresser. But the vibe is going to why they stay. And the vibe, I don't know anybody who doesn't want to be happy. And happiness comes from confidence. It comes from knowing you're growing. I have a saying, either grow or they go. And it's true. If people stop growing, they go. Yeah. They're looking for somewhere else. Sometimes they even go to, I remember back when I first started out here in America. In England, we grew so rapidly, so quickly. It did happen, I'm sure, after I left, but when I was there, it didn't happen. So here, when I first started, we grew, and people would come to me and say, hey, I can get this amount more money for my haircuts. So in point salary or whatever way you want to look at it, they would get more money for it. And I go, yeah, you can. But do you feel your guests will stay with you? Because suddenly you're offering them the same service. So will they stay? Probably not. Where if you stay with us, we're going to train you and grow you to the next level of ability. When the guest will feel, hey, you know what? This is greater value. So that's why I feel you need to develop a vibe. Is you need to have everybody on board feeling good about the whole situation. The clients need to feel the vibe, and the vibe can be accentuated or harmonized with the way the people in the salon are. So take, for instance, we have one salon out the whole lot that does predominantly vivid colors. It's a little different. It's in the most conservative town in our area. So these are all in different towns. I call it all Washington, but it's like saying London and you're talking about Tooting, or you're talking about somewhere further out, Richmond, or something like that. That's a better way, Richmond. So you're going outside into different areas. This is Alexandria, the first Scottish traders' place where they came before there was Washington. And this is like old red brick, stone. It looks somewhat English. Maybe not completely, but somewhat English. So there they have a vibe that's totally different to the rest of the vibes in all our salons. And then we have another one in, say, Friendship Heights, which is probably one of the most expensive areas in Washington. That's a little bit more quieter, a little bit more chilled. So the music's different. The people are maybe a little bit more quiet and not so loud. But the people in the Vivid salon, they're very loud. They're very like, hi, how are you? oh my God, you're looking so good. Da-dum. It's more like somebody once said to it, okay, so that's the tattoo parlor and this is the hair salon in Mayfair, because it was an English person. And I go like, oh, yeah, I never thought of it like that. So there's a different vibe, and that vibe will reflect in the music, but the same attitude, I think, from that vibe is the same. That energy, the enthusiasm, because we all know to be happy, you have to give in to take out, and so that's how we like to share with our team.
Yeah, same.
To gain happiness, you've got to participate. You've got to be part of the team.
Yeah.
And
So
you've
there's a
got
conscious effort you make in terms of even thinking about the vibe of the salon and pulling all the essences that come in creating that vibe. So you're conscious about it.
Yeah. I have a way that I wander around salons and I go in and I high five people. Best American thing ever. I have some American. This morning, I go for 10,000 steps in the morning around the wood. It's about half a mile from my house. And I'm going there and everybody says, oh my God, best of luck today for England. And we high five. And so it makes you feel good. So what do? I want people to feel good. If I want my salon to reflect a certain way, I've got to act a certain way. I'm that very conservative person. If you met me, I'd be, and I had no association with you. I'm pretty quiet. And I would not be the center of attention. But once you say to me, oh, this is going to be part of an experience like yours, sharing things global, you've got to make it entertaining. You've got to make it exciting. So for me, high five people. Yeah. Is it American? Yeah. But I don't know anybody over the world that doesn't like to be high fived.
That's true.
Just building on the leader point, right? Because how when you're trying to find that leader for a new salon or a new space, a new outlet, what matters most, right? Is it like how much does them being a technical master matter? Like behind the chair, how much is it the ability to communicate, lead, inspire? And on top of that, do they have to be technically proficient if they've got all the other stuff that you want them to have as a leader?
When they come to me, they don't, but they will be by the time they hit their position. So I'm open to anybody to come to me. I got into hairdressing when I was 21, rare in England, usually started at 16. So I came to it, I learned it in a short period of time. I was an engineer. It was all mathematics to me, angles, numbers for the care covering, where it's easily learned. So I can teach anybody the abilities. So I need this openness to connect with people. If you're arrogant, it's not going to work. No, nobody likes arrogancy. You can be confident. It's different from arrogancy. So if the person has to have some skill level at connecting with people a lot, they have to then be able to do reviews, because I'm not asking them to maybe teach, educate. I did use that word because then everybody understands what I'm on about. If somebody, again, in the team, they need to just be able to do a review and say, okay, what do you feel you need to do to improve your technical skills? That's part of our review, but it'll be narrowed, cut. In your cuts, what do you feel you need to enhance? We use scissors and razors, so it might be that they can do well with scissors, but they can't use a razor. So they can't texture or whatever. It doesn't matter. So that person doing the review may not be teaching them. More than likely will not. They'll be designated to somebody else. So you don't have, that person has to just have that ability to lead, that ability to share with that person, I'm going to help you grow. They've got to have that ability. If they don't have that ability, grow or go kicks in. And if that person, the hairdresser who's getting reviewed, doesn't feel they're growing, they're going. And they might even have left before they leave. And that's the worst ones. Because then you're going to have that person in your salon, which I've been to other people's salons, and they asked me when I first came here, would you help me out establish Rockstar? And in those days I could do it. And so I would help them. And I could see the challenge was that hairdresser wanted to grow, but then the leader didn't hear them and didn't explain it. That unfortunately, when it comes to education, people tend to make it feel as though it's a negative. You need to learn to do this. And then they go, oh, and the face drops. Where, hey, have you thought about doing this look? You could create a lot of new clients with it. And they go, well, it's not my strong point. Then you go, okay, let's do something about that. and make it your strong point. Now, suddenly you are growing with them, and suddenly they feel a connection to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that leader is the key person.
Yeah.
And then once you get bigger, then you could have 2 leaders in the salon.
Interesting.
If you've got we have 30, 40 people in it.
Yeah. And it's obviously, like you said, they don't have to be the most technically proficient versus some of your maybe star hairdressers, but they've got to be able to coach them, grow them, develop them.
Good word, my favorite word. You're a coach.
Yeah.
If you got to help that person by inspiring them.
Yeah, you know what the parallel coming to me is, when you get tennis players, right? So you got sometimes, world-class tennis players, and what they have is their coach has never got to the heights that they've got to many a time, right? But they're able to develop them to become, top class because they're seeing the little gaps. And even if they've never got to the same level, I mean, you look at England are playing tonight, right? And Thomas Tuchel, he had to retire when he was about 20 or 21 because he had an injury and he could never. And I was reading a story about him yesterday. So he quit because of his injury when he was young, went off to university, and then was working behind a bar. So he was basically a barman, just bar staff. And then it was one of his old coaches, managers, ex-German, I think German coach, called him up and saying, "Why are you wasting your time behind the bar? Get over here and start coaching with me as a junior." And that was like, late 90s, so 25 years ago. So this guy saw him, thought, "You're wasting your time behind the bar. You got potential," grabbed him. And that journey has now taken him to, potentially, we've got the semi-final tonight and maybe more, hopefully. But that was someone who really saw talent, and has really developed it.
So my favorite story on soccer, football, whatever you want to call it.
Football. It's always football. There's no...
No. So my favorite story on that is Bobby Robson, Jose Mourinho.
Yes.
He never played football.
Yeah.
Do you know what he was? He was an interpreter for Bobby Robson.
That's right, yes.
Oh, no kidding.
And he'll now be the new manager of Real Madrid, the number 1 club in the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he never played football.
That's a story.
He has an ability, sometimes for me as an arrogance, which I don't like, but he has an ability to understand and review.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing as a leader. You understand, you review, and then you get the other person, which Bob Robson was the best at, to say, "Hey, I was watching this good place. How do you feel we could have done it differently?" So you don't tell them they did it wrong. How could you have done it differently? Then they will own it. Because the other thing that comes out in Rockstar a lot is ownership. Ownership is critical. From day one, we teach our students, our apprentices, to take ownership of their career journey.
Yeah.
You have got the responsibility. Don't come to me saying this didn't happen. Come to me when it didn't happen.
Yeah.
As soon as something doesn't happen, so you should only ever have with your leader 1 challenge. If you have 2, it's your fault because you should have gone with the first one to your leader. So I'm a great believer in having people take ownership. I'm not one of these, my child doesn't do anything wrong or my team doesn't do anything wrong. No, I'm not that person. I'm that person that praises.
You don't wear filters.
But holds people accountable.
Yeah.
And that's critical.
Mm.
You know why that is? Most people wear those filters because they can't tell themselves the truth. It's difficult to tell yourself the truth, even when you can see it. It's also one of the reasons why you could be a great hairdresser, you could be a great artist, but that doesn't make you automatically a great coach or a great team leader. Because the skill that is required for you to be a team leader or a coach is more cerebral than it is artistic.
Yeah. One of the things that I came across.
I'm a great hairdresser, so I should be able to transfer my knowledge to another person and be able to elevate their skills. But it actually is you have to be able to learn how to coach the skills that you know well to do. It's muscle memory for you to do what you're doing, but to be able to educate that skill to someone else is an art and science in itself that you need to learn to be able to do.
And the challenge is because part of Rockstar is coaching, and a big part. And so the tendency is hairdressers become famous and they feel that they should own a salon, but they don't spend any time on leadership skills and they don't spend any time on branding. So they have a brand everybody has a brand. Whether you don't care where you are, you have a brand. Whether you're in your positions or you're a hairdresser, you have a brand. And it's important that you focus on your brand and you deliver it, as we have said. You've got to focus on what's special about you, what's unique, and then amplify it. I believe in life you need two people, a mentor and a role model. People tend to confuse and put the two together. They're totally separate. A mentor is someone that holds you accountable to yourself. So you need to be able to go to your mentor and say, hey, this is where I want to be. Oh, how do you intend to get there? They will listen. You will tell them how you do it. Then they will hold you accountable to it. So you need to have at least monthly meetings, preferably weekly when you first start out. And then you need to connect with that person and share with them where you're going and what you're going to do. And then they hold you accountable if you do not do it. Then you need a role model. But you can have multiple role models, a hairdresser in particular, particularly one that does cut and color. They need to focus on the skill they need to learn and then pick a role model that executes it brilliantly. And you admire. You've got to admire them. You don't need to learn anything else from them. You don't need to admire they could be arrogant. They could be anything. But their skill is what you want to emulate. So you look at their skill, you see where it is, and then you look at your skill, and there's a gap between the two. Then you say, okay, how can I narrow that gap? You then break it down how you're going to do it. You share it with your mentor and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to look to be able to do this styling like Angelo Simonero. Beautiful hairdresser. I mean, I used to talk about Trevor because to me, Trevor was the one that had that knack to finish hair and make it look as though the wind blew it. And that's the hardest look anybody can do. When people do these very elaborate things, I don't say it's easy, but it's constructed. But to make it look as though the wind blew through it, that's really hard in a photograph. Anthony Mascola was the best at photographs and the best at doing those things. However, if you then would say, okay, this is where I want to be. I want to create these looks. This is my steps to getting there. And then the mentor holds you accountable to you achieving it. You do it. You go to them and say, hey, I've done this. And this is where I am this week, or this is where I am 2 weeks, bi-weekly or monthly. And then they can see the progression.
Yeah. Obviously, you're talking about, star hairdressers that suddenly think, hey, we've got a good client book. We're doing great. Why am I working with someone else? Let me go and do my own thing. And that's obviously very common. And then I think somewhere down the line, that genius or, superstar hairdresser suddenly realizes, oh my God, this is hard work. And, running a business, even if it's a single outlet, a single shop, is tough because you've got all the other stuff you have to now worry about. So that's one thing. But then for those that then think of, we want to scale, and then also, they want to scale, they want to open up more than one outlet. Like, you've got 14, for example, there's examples like that. That can't happen without a good system in place, right? And there's always, and we'll hear it. You would have heard it many times in your life that, systems and structure kills the creative artist, right? And even Rodney said it on kind of on the last podcast we did as well. And how do you get a team to embrace that without structure, you're not going to scale, and systems and structure are not there to box you in?
Because I tell the story for me, and my team will always tell you, did he tell you the story? And for me, my story was I was working in London, and I'm always telling stories. So, and I go to France for the first time, and I'm doing Fashion Week, and I have some downtime. I love Picasso. So I would go to the Picasso Museum. I'm astounded. It's like a circle, and you go up it, spiral, and you go in, and he's there. His first work is fundamentally just landscapes and normal hair and normal paintings. And then he evolves as he grows. And that's what it's about, is getting people to realize it's an evolution. It's not a destination.
So talking about systems, if you were to take one element of the Rockstar Success System and implement in a salon, if a salon owner could do this, what would it be? And why would you pick that to be the first one?
If you don't know where you are, you don't know where you're going. So you need to do reviews.
Great.
I want to have a dream team. I want to do this. I want to do that, which comes me back to, I didn't think I fully answered Vic's question. How do you share with people systems are not going to kill creativity? I feel by showing people they grow. So you need to have fundamentals. If you want to be Picasso, you need to be able to deliver, to do portraits, be able to do landscapes. From there, you can grow into what creativity and break all the rules.
Right.
Because you know what you're doing when you break the rules.
Yes. Yeah. You learn the rules, you can bend them and then break them, but you have to learn them first to be able to do them in a manner that doesn't take away from what you're building, but adds to what you're building.
Yeah. I mean, my first influence in hairdressing was Michelangelo. Because Michelangelo creates the perfect, if you go and look at his statues, perfect. The aesthetics on it, phenomenal. All of them. And so when you look at David, the balance. Often people say, oh my God, what's so great about the way that person cuts hair? He can, he's able to, or she's able to put this look on a person and it looks perfect. It's the aesthetics.
Okay.
So reviews are first.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So if a salon owner could take Rockstar Success System and implement it in their salon for 3 years, what are the changes that you would want to see? What you would see?
What would take place for me would be this. They'd have greater retention with their clients, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, I always look at that, again, another story, it's like having a bucket with a hole in. If you've got new clients and they're going straight, it's like water going in and going out the bottom. You never get the bucket full. If you fill that hole and you not stop, but if people stop leaving you, you don't stop them, but if they stop leaving you, then suddenly the water grows. And there you are. You've got yourself booked for the next 3 months.
So you have to fix the leak first.
You got to fix the leaks first.
Yep.
And leaks are going to come because your systems, it's not your team's challenge. It's you. You didn't have a system. You didn't have a plan. And you didn't go into it. So if you're a hairdresser, the first thing you need to do when you want to open a salon, to think about what will it look like? Not what you're going to do. Don't live on your ego. Live on what's going to be an extension of your brand. If you can move your ego away and put it into a brand and say, this is what my brand stands for. This is what I deliver on. Then you're able to say, okay, I can then take that and break it down into training. You could come to somebody like Rockstar. We can help you with the communications. We can give you that ability. However, if you've got a certain way you want to do hair, you need to be able to break it down and put it into a training schedule. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You get people leave you. The clients won't leave you. Maybe your hairdressers will leave you. Maybe both.
Maybe both. Yeah. You said so retention will be stronger. So like after 3 years of kind of putting Rockstar together from Salon.
Yeah. Sorry, I stopped retention, didn't I?
More clients, more money. Big happier head.
What about
your team would be? I mean, you build a fabulous vibe. That's what I feel. I'd be surprised if you didn't build a great vibe because we're focusing on team. And teams, today, the English team were pretty much not a good team before. They would work as a team, but not as a great team. Where now you have team members now putting more energy in. Even if I feel maybe he left some people he should have taken with him, if that person wasn't going to contribute, which he hadn't shown in either his club sometimes and for his country for sure, then he did the right decision. It's hard because there's a gap in the team now for it, but you've got to have everybody contributing. But the reality of it is you, the leader, it's your responsibility to ensure they are. And it's ensure that you can get them engaged.
You know what? Even rewinding back to the, I know we're going on about football and that, but it's so we've had, it's obviously Gareth Southgate started this trend of where now success is pretty much expected, as it's always been, but now it's delivered on. So like we're onto into I think our third semi-final, second final in just 5 tournaments, for example. But that goes back to almost 15 years ago when you'd arguably say 20 years ago, even up to 20 years ago, we had far better individuals than, and yet the team would never perform. And when Gareth Southgate came in as first, I think, a youth manager at England level, and then what he's been delivering. It's working on the team over the individual. So then you're arguably saying, actually, we've got the individuals may not be as good as they used to be. Like, we had those days in the 2000s of, Beckham and Gerrard and Lampard and all
Gerrard and all this.
phenomenal individuals, the golden generation, but couldn't really move the needle. And now you've got a far better collective unit who work as a team, no matter, even if they're not as individually as excellent or, inspiring as that generation. But you're right, they've put in systems that just deliver consistently now, for England.
But they engage them into the system. You don't, that it's having a system. You're not putting it in as though you have to do this. You bring a system in successfully if you have people feel the benefit of being part of the team.
Yeah.
And so you don't wear on your sleeve system. No, you wear on your sleeve team. And so for me, the biggest analogy in the World Cup right now is Spain. Spain's manager was the youth manager. Now is the manager. I think this will be 14 years he's been with those players. I mean, that's why they don't look for each other. They know where they are. They know how they're playing. They know using the word system, they know the system. But they don't think, oh, this is plan B, plan C. No, this is where we'll be. And if you have your team in that place, they'll be happy. And so if your hairdressers know where they are, they know where they're going, they know where they're going on to, they know where they're going to grow, they know how, hey, if I do this, this, and this, I will be able to earn more money. I know if I show up for this class, which I sometimes hear in America, oh my God, how do you get your people to come for education? And there's no mandatory thing. You can't do mandatory unless you pay people in America. That's the rule. I said, it's right. Hey, I noticed that you were looking at so-and-so and you wanted to go on a trip to Miami. You wanted to go to Europe. You want to do this. Well, let me help you get there. If you were able to improve this, this, and this with your coloring, you could deliver this, this, and this and charge so much more for it. You would easily attain that. I wouldn't be saying that now. In all honesty, I'm telling lies. One of my team members would be, who's connected with them. But, the system would be there, to use the word system. But they don't feel, oh, I'm entering the system. They feel, hey, he is helping me elevate my ability to earn money.
Do you know,
it's a journey.
Yeah, for that, you really need to understand your team, their personal goals, their career goals, to be able to work, inspire them, and work with their aspirations to get them to where you want to go. And that takes conscious decisions and systems in place as well, right? You're thinking about their goals and you're working with them on their goals, making you a part of their success journey and creating that bit of loyalty there in the process.
Big loyalty. And it's not loyalty, it's part of a team. Yeah. It's being part of a team and that cohesiveness to success. Everybody's success, not my success. And I don't feature anymore, but even the leader's success, it's their success. If you're part of that, if you're part of their success, it's like they will come to when you offer training, as long as you make it meaningful. I'm a great believer in the flow and meaning. I'm not a Buddhist, but I believe some of their things that they believe in is great. And so I feel if you share with people how they can benefit by doing something, then they will buy into it.
Do you know that on education, because that's a big topic which we're not going to we're not going to dive into that too much, because that's a whole other podcast, I think. But how much of it, if you've got for example, a team size of about 450, and it's not mandatory, and I presume it's not very brand led. Like in India, there's most education is brand led education.
Yeah, you mean like L'Oreal, Weller, so
exactly.
On.
It's just thrown in. Okay, you've bought enough product,
and it's free.
And it's free, kind of. But
something that comes for free means it has no value.
Well,
there's great education with some of these, but you've got to be selective.
Yes, so we're not going to dive into that side because that's a whole Pandora's box. But out of your kind of team size, let's say 450, and it's not mandatory. So how many of them are actually regularly learning, doing education as part of their kind of, well, they don't have to because they're successful hairdressers. How much is that? How much do they actually do it? How many of them are still doing continuous education? Second, how many kind of hours a week, month, year are they putting into that?
So in the different levels, like I say, I've had some people 30 plus, some 20 plus, some 10 plus. So if you break it down, in the first 10 years, they're dedicating at least they would go and do, it's around 40 hours. The next lot, it would go down as the years go by. So 10 and so on and so forth. But the last lot, even we make it so people aware of when they're not hitting their attainable goals. And it's, you say, well, are you ready to step out of this? I mean, we will share with the people when they're, we just had one guy leave this, been with us 30 years, but he was ready to step out of it. We shared it with him before he came to us. And we said, are you ready to step out? Because that takes, we all, I guess I'm guilty of it. To step out of something is a challenge. I just moved on. I just like, okay, I'm leaving that bit behind, but I'm going on to that bit. And so for me, that was easy. And that's why I explained to him. I said, you know what, David, if you're not happy standing and doing hair and creating anymore, there's other things you could be doing that would achieve your happiness. And so I helped smooth the way. Yeah. And I because I've known him from when he's been with me a long time, I wouldn't be doing that with, say, somebody else, but him in particular, or she in particular, is a girl just left as well, has been with us longer than that. And it was like, I understand you want to be in Florida. Then, she was between us and Florida. But, sometimes people leave before they've left.
Yes.
And she left.
Yeah.
Quite quickly.
But do you think pretty much all
So,
of your team, like, is it like, high 90s, what kind of percentage are continue learning, whether they've been with you 5 years, 10 years, 20?
I mean, 80% are on continual learning. The 10% have fallen into that last bit where they're into their 30-year time period, and they are ready to leave. And they, that has to happen. Evolution, for sure. The brand.
Just, you were talking about the happiness, about, people should always be happy. You want to make sure your hairdressers are happy, that they're fulfilling their kind of attainable goals, life goals, etc. And also, you're very kind of structure driven. Like I said before, sometimes from a perception point of view, they don't marry, especially for the creative person. And we know generally, like, research also, hairdressing is one of the happiest kind of professions you can get into. But a lot of
creativity. It really is just creativity.
Hairdressing, maverick, so goddamn uncontrollable. So how do you marry? Do you think discipline? How does discipline go with happiness? And is there any kind of risk that?
I don't like the word discipline, period. So again, words
I was
are
about
everything.
to say that. He doesn't like that word, discipline.
That's old school. That's old school English schooling system. But is there a risk that structure kills off?
I just relearned to, when I was in Oxford, I learned, words are everything.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I seem as though I'm going to stutter, but really I'm just looking for the right word. And it's a case of, I don't like the word junior. It's never been allowed in the ever, because to me, I don't look down on anybody, and I don't want any of my team looking down on me. They can be new, they can be fresh, and they can be starting out in their career. That's as far as it goes. After that, it's a progression. They're hairdressers, and it's where they're progressing to. So it's a case of how you go about laying out the structure. If structure's growth, it's not negative. If structure's holding you back, it's negative. And the tendency is people will go to somebody and they'll go, oh, I want to raise my prices. And they go like, well, you don't do this, 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 and this. It's a structure, but it's not a beneficial structure to that person, because nobody explained to them how they didn't have to wait, more than likely. And nobody said to them, hey, if you want to progress, so I'm here this year, in 6 months' time, 3 months. In 3 months' time, this is where you be. If you do it 6 months, it's better than none. Once a year is even better than nothing, but it's not any good in my view. So if you do that review and you say, where do you want to be? I want to do this. And they'll then share with you, okay, that's when you say, but right now, there's a lot of people coming in. Let's take coloring. And was balayage, now it's back to foils again, the melding. And so I noticed that you're not using a lot of foils in your color preparations. Is there a challenge there? And I'll go, oh, I don't like doing it. Everybody always has that answer. I don't like doing it. Okay. we have a new team member that's really, really into it, and she's doing this class. How about going along and seeing if she's got something fresh that might inspire you to do it? That's a different way to say, no, you can't raise your prices.
The concept of peer-to-peer learning, when you are in a system and when most of your team members are in the system and progressing and you are seeing them taking steps towards their goals professionally and personally, it's more likely that you aspire to fall into one of those, because that, when people talk to each other about what they're doing to move forward, it's a lot more powerful than when a salon leader sits with you and discusses your progression. It sounds like a review, but when it comes from a colleague of yours and you're teaming up to do something together, like go to a training or practice something in a salon, it's a totally different deal. I think a system encourages people to want to work together to be where they need to be as well.
But I feel anything that's a growing system works. Anything is just a system. It's not really a system, it's boundaries. And then it's like, no, you can't go past here. So if you make it so we don't have boundaries in that critical way, but you have, okay, you can't do this. This is a boundary. This doesn't mean that it's prohibited. It just means you can't go past here, if you want to use those words, till we've grown here. As long as you're doing it ahead of the time so that they know they have an objective to achieve. And once they've done it, they're past it. They're going through it. They're going on to charge more money. Then they feel in a totally different place. But it seems a lot to do, but the reality of it is, it's just laying out that first plan. Once you start, it becomes easier because it's similar. The words are similar, the actions are similar, the way of implementing it is similar. It's not different. When I'm educating somebody in cut, color, or communication, the process is similar. It's what needs to go into it that you need to be able to know. But once you get into it, you're like, oh my God, this is so simple. I can do this. And by then I'm able to do that. It's then a case of not a negative structure, but a very positive, uplifting one.
So other than me, what's pulling you into taking Rockstar from PR partners to out to the world? And why now at this stage of your career?
So for me, you are majorly. I mean, had you not been in my sphere of influence, then I would never have done that. I'm at a great place in life, so I don't owe anything to anybody in the way of the business, the houses, nothing. However, I'm a great believer in reading. I feel that, if you want to grow yourself as a leader, start reading. And it can be on a computer, it can be through Blinkist or something like that, where it's condensed down. It can be all those things. You just got to add to your knowledge base. And so for me, it was a case of Stephen Covey. And Stephen Covey said, you'll go through life, but what you really should think about is your death. And at your death, you'll have whatever place, whatever religion you are, or whether you have no religion. Most people will gather and pass words about you. The most important thing for you in life is to know, what do you want them to say? How would you like you to be reflected on? What words will they say? You were this, you were that. And you'll be like up there looking down here looking up, wherever you're looking from. And they're saying these words. Would you be like, wow, really? Oh my God, I feel so good about that. And I want to feel so good about that. And if there's anything I feel I could have done better, it was sharing more. I've always shared, but shared within a context of my team. And I had a moment with some good friends in the industry, and I've worked for many manufacturers. But I realized that you mentioned it, when it's for free, people don't value it. And they didn't engage in it because it wasn't part of an engagement thing. They were looking at it as their product company and a short-term shot in the arm or something. So really, myself and my other person I was working with at the time, we never took it, and at the end of it felt, wow, that was great. Look what we did for people. There are people who came up to me in Atlanta this time and said, oh my God, I remember when you used to be on the road with this other young lady and what you shared with us. So, we remembered that. But it did, and then I said, oh, so did I hear that you had a challenge with your people walking out? Oh yeah, you know how it is. And I'm like, but they didn't listen, did they? Because if they'd listened and done the reviews, that would never have happened. So I realized that I'd fallen short in the way of sharing with people my knowledge. And as I said, from like the luckiness, who gets the lucky break to meet Richard Branson so many times as I did? Did he slap me on the back and say, Reg, let me help you with this? No. But I was able to chat with him and get inspiration from him and help me make that decision to go to America, because he was like, yep, you got to move on. You can't stay in your lane. You've got to get out of the lane. You got to move on. And so all those things I want to share with other people. And I realized with my company that's my daughter runs that now. It's all taken care of, but I would like to share with a lot more people. And that's why I want to do this.
So it's more like a legacy building for you.
Yeah, it's that standing up there, standing down there, and looking down and seeing what people are saying. So I was the big Roopa there going, yeah.
So if you have one last thing to tell salon owners or stylists who are at a point in life where they want to chisel their skills more into doing fine or refined work, what would that be? And through Rockstar Success System, how would you approach them?
I'd say start with Rockstar, but understanding that won't happen for everybody. I feel the first thing to do is make a plan. It's my great belief in life is make a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, you don't know where you're going. Then have a mentor. Pick a mentor that can tell you, and you will not get upset when they say to you, you didn't do this. You need to have that mentor that's going to say, hey, you said you were going to do this. How are we going to achieve that? Because it doesn't look as though it's happening. And then have a clear role model of whatever skill or knowledge you need to learn. And then focus on it, figure out the gap between you and them, and work out with your mentor how you're going to close it. When you say it like that, it's quite simple. And the reality is, make your first plan. You're on your road. You're on a roll.
For you.
Brand?
Yes.
A brand.
A personal brand.
A personal brand needs to look at themselves through the eyes, and we're on about hairdressers now, through the eyes of the guest. What do the guests see? What are the guests coming in and asking for? And it's what they're asking for is your brand. It's what you are really good at. They will come in and maybe not ask for, but come in and have a haircut because they were booked in with you. That's not what you're looking at. You're looking at those people that were a referral, and they come in and ask you to do a haircut. They ask you to do a color. And then that will keep evolving, and you have a clear knowledge. Okay, I'm really great at doing haircuts. I'm really great at doing color. And then I would work on your communication, because without the communication, you won't grow it.
We could keep going on, but
yeah, it has to come
for the benefit of those that watching and listening. So I think we'll need to wrap for them as well. But no, thanks very much, Reg, for taking the time out to share some of that knowledge. And also we're really excited because you are, we're shooting this. You're going to be in Mumbai in literally 6 weeks' time with your team, and we're really excited to be bringing some of your legacy, so you can look from upstairs down or from downstairs up, to see some of that legacy creation that is going on and going global. So we're really excited about what we're going to be bringing to India, with the Rockstar program, for next month and going forward as well. Because I think while it all sounds, when you explain it, it all sounds very simple. And like, why don't we just get on and follow build the plan and follow the plan. The creative artist and the hairdresser struggles with that, and like you said, and struggles with it everywhere, not just in the US, not just in India, but it's that thing. And I think your system will really help feed into what we do with this podcast, which is helping turn that passionate creative into a profitable business, right? And that so that they can enjoy the fruits of the labor, essentially. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we work as hairdressers incredibly hard to learn our skills and our knowledge. We need to learn how to make it a business. And that's really what it's about. And whether it's you behind a chair or you've got a team or you've got a company, it's the same. It's learning how to make it a business. And that's what I feel your podcast is going to help people achieve. And I wish you the best of luck, the pair of you, with it.
Yeah. And Raj, I'm so also very excited to get this workshop going where you and your team are going to perform haircutting and coloring and teach communication through the cutting and coloring. And that's going to be the most exciting part for me, to be able to partake with you guys. And hopefully we enlighten a few people in Mumbai and we get to experience you guys once again.
And that's important, because we are hairdressers communicating. We're not communicators in hairdressing.
Absolutely.
And it's a difference. There's lots of communicators in hairdressing, but we're hairdressers communicating. So everyone on that stage will do hair, and everybody will share with you how they communicate with their guests. We will share with you how we define simply clients, guests, whichever you prefer to call them, into different groups so you can analyze them more simply. So it's that communication, building it up and defining how to grow with your clients. And we look forward to sharing it. I mean, we have a great team coming. They all have verbal diarrhea like me, and so that's part of the skill.
Part of the training.